Hi, I'm Aklara.
And I'm Rohan Nagar.
Welcome to The Long Take. This week we're discussing the Tamil movie Kottukkaali, directed by and written by Vinothraj and starring Suri and Annaben in the lead. Yeah, I am going to think very opposite ends of the spectrum on this movie one, so it's going to be a fun one. Yeah, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, after so long, but I thought it's pretty tremendous, you know. I'm like more fascinated to know why you didn't think it was even good, right?
Yeah, I think it struggled. I think I gave up on it because it's like it just didn't like it took forever for me to like get put into it. Like 40 minutes, I was just like, give me like one scene, give me some scene I'm gonna be invested in, because like the dialogues was not doing it for me. They were just like, about like whatever rituals and superstition every third line. Like it was not about people, right? Like you have to be about people. Like talk about what you're feeling. Don't talk to me about like stuff you're going to do or whatever. Like that's boring. Like you're saying the same, repeating the same thing. You're saying like we're gonna do this as well, and 2 minutes later you're almost like going around in circles. So that wasn't doing it for me. The cinematography wasn't doing it for me. Just like the full deep focus. I wasn't like, I'm not sure why this approach, like how it's contributing to it. Because there are places where like you will accidentally get shallow depth of field because you put the camera so close to someone's face. So it's not like you're really into the deep focus thing. The sound design was just like very like annoying for me because like the ceiling of like, the floor was too high. And it was like, cacophonous almost. Like I would hear like everything and I'm just like, it's not defined. You're not like trying to like accentuate like, oh, that sound is important. You just like, yeah, we just put the mic there and everything was loud and this is how it is. So almost like that's how it felt like to me. Yeah, so I just kept waiting for like a moment where I would, be like, oh yeah, this is like, I'm invested now. Like I want to know like why these people are doing what they're doing, who they are. And it just like didn't happen for a longest while.
I mean, so almost everything that you said is stuff that I admired about the movie, oddly enough. And I think like, I don't think I've seen a better Indian movie this year than this one.
Right.
Like I thought the decision to appear kind of rambling in the first half or maybe longer even was a nice kind of dramatic irony to that, right? Because all these people are moving forward with like a single purpose, right? They're heading towards one direction, yet nothing that they really speak about indicates what is actually happening. Like I was focusing more on just, like there's like a couple of dudes who are like, where do we get alcohol from? And that's more important to them than anything that this convoy is participating in. Then this one person is like, why are you paying for all the money? And then an argument erupts over that. These petty kind of differences begin to creep up between all these people. I was more interested in the simple fact that, what the hierarchies are of power in this little group. And over time, that becomes fascinating to see, right? Because it's not just that the men are in power. That's pretty obvious. The movie is kind of making a bigger point. Like some men are more powerful than others, right? And the ones that are submissive, like the woman's father, is he a worse person because of that, for what he's allowing to happen? Also, I wasn't bothered by, like I, for one, admire that Vinothraj he's just made the previous one also I really liked a lot, the movie that he made, Pebbles. And I think that he has such a distinct style. The vastness of this land, right? Because it's irony, right? She's like caged. And not only is she caged, the dudes don't realize it, but they're caged as well, right? By how they think. Their mindsets are caging them. Yet here is this huge open space where this movie unfolds, similar to Pebbles, where, this guy was just on this kind of epic mission. He was just walking and he was the villain of that movie and we were following him. And here also, he's playing around with perspective, right? All of that I thought was very fascinating, and this isn't even what the movie is about. The movie is about something entirely different.
Which I think is almost irrelevant to like the central thing. I don't think the movie like wants to like really care about like, which is why it weeds out, like it sort of like slowly drip feeds ki like, this is like through like interaction with strangers, it will tell you like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. I don't think that's all.
Do you remember the interaction with the cop, Shuru Mehi? Where the cop stops the convoy, and I thought that was so nicely done, because the cop stops the convoy and he's like, what the hell are you doing? And they explain to him that, we're going to see this magic person for this girl, and the cop is like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, please continue, you know. But in the cop's mind, he has just done his deed for the day. I'm such a brilliant person, I let these people go. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, you're sending her to doom. You realize that you think that you're helping her, but all of you people,
which is like everyone around her, they think they're helping
exactly
her, right? Yeah.
But some people are just I don't know, some of them just seem like they're being cruel also, like they know this is nonsense, but you're like, karna hai to karna hai, whatever.
Yeah,
we don't
like,
know
it's almost
better.
like no, I don't think it's all know it better. It's almost like they've given themselves up to society, like they don't want to even question, because those two who spoke about the alcohol ones are probably the only ones who on screen get a moment to like quote unquote question it when they actually find their alcohol. But it's almost like tangential, right? They're like, yeah, like sure, like ye to matlab so chuki pregnant hogi isliye ye sab ho raha hai.
Yeah. Also, the main character is fascinating because she doesn't speak, right? And there is a sense that you're entering the story. This is the climax of the story, basically. This is the third act of her story, right? There's this grand love story, tragic love story, but what we are watching is the ending, right? Which is why, like, the whole time I was suspecting that they might have even killed the dude. Who knows, you know? At least from the expression on her face, which is, you know, of 90% defeat and just I've resigned to my fate. But there is, you know, obviously there are like brief moments of where she wants to either escape or she's having sort of a premonition of like, yeah, this is where I want to go. But then the larger sense is I've given up, right? Which is how we are also introduced to her.
That's a clear, like, you know, sort of like indication from like every minute she's on screen, you can tell like that's where she sort of is. Because even the thing you're hinting at, you know, when she has that kind of out of body experience and she like thinks of herself with her open hair, I would think like that's not even like a wish or a desire. I think it's almost like, oh, in another life I could be that person.
In another life I could be that person, or that's just what I imagine death to be, you know. I'm like literally hoping for like the sweet release of death or whatever.
Yeah, because at this point that would be better than like living this.
Than this. Because there is also the throwaway line of, you know, this isn't the worst thing that they've done to me or something along those lines. Do you remember? Which is just like scary. Like what? Like, because we've already seen them beating her. So like what else have they done? Is she referring to, you know, they killed the dude, or is she referring to something that happened to her? So all of that is there, but that's all like left to your imagination. A lot of this movie is kind of left to your imagination. Especially include the ending, which I have no idea what that meant, which is probably the only bit of the movie where I don't want to reduce it to, oh, the director is putting himself in the position of Pandi and us also.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that either, like that move at all. Like, I mean, there are actually other shots as well where the movie switches to like a POV, and some of them I can understand like the angle, and some of them are just like random sometimes for me. But the final one, because the character like is the character in a way like, sure, Anaman is like largely mute, but like even Suri he is comparatively like he's not that like given that much to do, right? So that his sort of peaks in terms of, you say, emotion are when we meet him, when like his sister is like applying that like whatever white thing on his neck, and then he like starts shouting at her and beating her up almost. So that's obviously his introduction, right? So then you're like, oh, this guy's like whatever a-hole. I don't really want to care for this guy. And then his other big peak emotional is when what we spoke about, like, you know, like he's literally beating everyone up after like that song incident. So when you like put me in the POV of a character I basically like hate, and I'm just like, I don't want to be in this space, right? Like I feel almost like a revolted, and like, no, get me out here. So trying for me to like to potentially like either humanize / like sympathize with this guy, like, oh yeah, he just witnessed something and now he's shaken, and I'm like, this is the last guy I want to feel anything for. So which is why I'm a fan of this choice.
No. So I think it's the opposite, right? Because it's not like this is Maharaj, where the movie has no idea that the main guy is, you know, evil.
Sure, yeah.
The movie is fully aware that this person is insane, you know. God knows what all atrocities he has done and what he can do. By doing that POV, I would like to give the movie the benefit of that, because it's a much better movie. It's more skillfully made than, you know, 99% of the other nonsense that I watch. I would like to give it the benefit of the doubt to imagine that he's not saying that this person has suddenly had a change of heart, but he is implying that you and I, the viewers, and himself, the director, are also under, say, sexist. All of us are, right? And the sooner that we kind of introspect, that we make those kind of at least acknowledgements about what are our biases. How many of these incidents have we kind of looked at and either ignored or whatever participated in. So I think that is the crucial difference, because for the simple fact that, the movie isn't confused about who Pandi is, right? He is an insane person. He is the one who should be, whatever demon is inside him needs to be exorcised.
Yeah, but I think it's also like there is a hesitancy. Like you said, like there's not like introspection out. But like movie at the end, like whatever, like 10-15 seconds of it, while everyone's standing next to the CEO, it is sort of like trying to implant that he is questioning.
He is kind of wondering what's happening, but that also happens in the last 5 seconds and immediately after it is revealed. And this is another like huge point that the movie is trying to make. It's not like a socioeconomic thing, right? There's like, it's almost like a horror movie at the end when you see like just so many women who've been brought to this person, right? It's any like horror filmmaker could take that and run with it, this idea. And it is very scary. So, I mean, that is the note that the movie wants you to kind of also register in your mind. Like, oh my God, like what dystopia?
Yeah, but I also feel like that could be conveyed better in a way, almost like to, as you said, like the movie is leaning so much into imagination. I think that's something people can just like draw from watching, right? Like, because you're like, if you're watching this, it's obviously like not an isolated incident. This is how people are.
Also, the magic person is very plainly revealed to be like a scam artist. It's not that he's putting on a show even, which a lot of these people I imagine would do to kind of keep up that illusion. But this person is just so obviously a scam artist, It's not even like, you idiots, like he's not even doing a good job at fooling you. And yet you are...
Yeah, but I think that's what the movie actually is probably like the best part for me is like, when it does the like comedy in plain sight thing that's just like pointing out like the idiocy of like what these people are doing through. I just like feel like the direction doesn't as good a job of like, potentially like making those moments stand out or emphasizing on them. Like,
no, but I remember each and every one of those moments. I watched this movie a while ago, and all those comedy bits that you're referring to, I remember. Like, I remember the look on all these dudes' faces when she refuses to get out of the auto and they have to like lift it up and turn it around. It's exaggerated to a degree of, I'm like, what is happening? The bull scene is memorable.
The only moment is like actually exaggerated, right? Because they're all like shouting at the top, and you're like, you don't actually need that kind of like grunt to like do the same work. But all the others, like the bull one you just mentioned, that's almost like played like a documentary. Just everyone stands there, and then a tiny girl shows up and then drags her friend out of the frame.
No, but it's funny, right? Because it's a bull.
Yeah, it is funny. Yeah,
and that
grown men who were like are beating up women are suddenly like cowering in front of the bull, and then this tiny girl shows up and she's like, okay.
Yeah, and the insect in the eye was hilarious. I mean, this idiot.
That's probably like a body horror moment.
I laughed when she licked it. It was like this exaggerated close-up of this eye.
Yeah, exact close-up because you've not used that sort of mechanic anywhere else, or it never repeats that motif. And her tongue just feels like it's a frog's tongue.
All these things I remember were very funny. I was like,
yeah, but that feels like almost like a outtake from a David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is one of those movies where there's so much that it kind of it's not feeding you a lot of information. It's allowing you to kind of interpret and reinterpret. So it's always more fascinating to watch stuff like this, right? Because two people can watch the same thing and have very different reactions like we have.
Yeah, I think my issue is like, it's just like, I understand why you would want to make something deliberately almost like documentary, but it's so unengaging for like a long period of it. Like especially it's like the initial half, like whatever first, it's not like the end of the movie as a like first 40 minutes that defines how you will engage with the movie going forward. It's only like 80 minutes. So if I'm not engaged with like half of it, everything you do after that, even the stuff I've talked about, and I do like see the Mina's outer body thing, imagination, or like people like, but I think the Pandi beating everyone was for the moment I actually sat up. Otherwise, I was literally like thinking there were points where I was going to like start looking at the wall in my bed sheet.
But I don't know. So I thought that, so I was into it from the first scene, right? Which is this elaborate kind of tracking shot of this woman at dawn, right? It's very haunting. It sets up a very different kind of film, right? Because she's...
Yeah, but then what follows, it doesn't follow that, right? I feel like it's like that kind of like visual language is abandoned after first shot.
No, but I thought, so that's, it's very reminiscent of Pebbles also, right? Because he does a lot of tracking shots in Pebbles. And And I thought, oh, okay, fine. So, I mean, great. Like, I know this, you're good at this. And I'm immediately sucked into this world, right? Because of just how, not only because of just the time of day that you've chosen, because it's very haunting kind of early dawn light. And there is like these, street lamps, which kind of add this kind of artificiality to all of this also. But then just the act of this woman is stricken, right? There's this, something is happening, it's going to happen, and she kind of drenches herself, and then it ends on the reveal of the main woman, Meena. And all that I thought was fascinating, because not a word is spoken, but then you have this kind of journey, and then the movie kind of keeps evolving, and in terms of just the form that you're speaking of, that it became monotonous, I thought it was doing so many interesting things, right? Not only is it doing this rugged kind of a Western approach almost, but then there is like these moments of abstract, either horror or comedy or just weirdness, he is kind of experimenting with all of that, and I thought it was like really ambitious. And ye to matlab technical level pe hai, like in terms of themes also, it's kind of out there. It's pretty angry.
Yeah.
So an angry movie.
I mean, themes, I think actually I feel more than I feel like with the technical level. I actually don't like, I wasn't into it. I mentioned like Western stuff, like when it's like, when things are like very sparse and threadbare, it is, you have to go down to the technical level to sort of appreciate it. And the thing is, it's not actually, I feel like, doing it for me on a technical level. Like, as I've already spoken about the cinematography and how just like it's working. But also because there's so much like filler dialogue about like people wanting to be like, this is how they feel about the situation, this is what they're going to do. And it's just like, what are you communicating? You might as well shut up and let me like sit in peace in this auto right now. I think,
there was like the rooster stuff also.
Which, like, I kept waiting for that to like become actually like, I feel like a physical gag funny, but it's just like, it's just there. It's like, yeah, this is there for like the longest while. It's not, it doesn't transform into anything.
There is a funny bit with
when they just
it kind of goes unconscious, and like everybody stops and kind of tries to resuscitate it only because they needed to be sacrificed later as part of the ritual. Like all that stuff is pretty funny. And the kid is there with them. He's like, no, I want to poop, I want to pee, etc., etc.
Yeah, I can understand like the purpose of just like, I feel like the character, they gave him like another sort of reaction later when like after
the beating up,
beaten up thoroughly, and then she like smiles at her and he smiles, and just like, where's like, what are you trying to like do here? What are you going to achieve?
I mean, I did think of that moment, and there's two things that could be happening, right? One is, are you going to turn into a Pandi, right? Or the opposite of Pandi.
But in that moment, he's traumatized. So I don't think he's turning into a Pandi. Like
no, but you understand that all of these people have kind of witnessed similar shit.
Yeah. If you grow up in this environment, like it's almost inevitable that you turn into a Pandi, or you'll turn into like one of those like alcohol chasing dudes who just go along with what society says.
Correct. So the smile, that is like a little hint of like what are you going to be? Like, are you going to grow up to be someone who does this? Which I thought was quite profound, moments like that. And yeah, which is probably why I really like this.
Yeah, I think this Kottukkaali is like probably proof of like how one same film, like you saw like show the same frame, the same everything, can like have such a diverse, different impact on the audience.
No, I would kind of add a little layer of nuance to that. It's an example of how a well-made film, or at least that how I would define a well-made film to be, can evoke a different response as opposed to say Dhoom 2, right? A lot of people like Dhoom 2, but
yeah, but like
it's not a real movie
to like evoke the same response. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of a movie of this kind, I'm guessing, I don't know, has this been like divisive? I'm not sure. I thought people liked it.
I haven't read that much, honestly, so
but yeah, it played like some Berlin, I think, earlier this year.
Yeah, but it's probably not the first time that I've not liked a movie that's played at festivals.
Yeah,
that won't be the last.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, in a year where kind of like official selections at of Indian movies is finally happening. It's a nice kind of evolution, I would say.
Okay, that does it. That's all for this episode of The Long Take. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Threads at The Long Take Pod. You can write to us at thelongtakepod@gmail.com. Please leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to the episode, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.